Hey everyone, my name is Ravi Patel, Director Marketing Transformation over at PWC, and I'm excited to have with us Shivani Srivastava from Discover. So we're going to have some good conversations today, talking a little bit about emerging trends in marketing, MarTech, ad tech, a lot of cool things, especially as we wind down the year and then go into next year kind of looking at it. So, why don't we get a brief overview of you and how you're seeing some of these emerging trends evolve in the MarTech and the media space overall, just to start and kick things going.
Thank you for having me, Ravi. Hi, just a quick introduction. I am VP of MarTech at Discover Financial Services, and my charter is to provide ad tech and MarTech solutions for our B2C customers across all of these financial products. Trends from ad tech and MarTech perspective are quite a bit in the data space, right? There's a lot that's happening in this space, all the way from how we capture information or cannot capture information, to how we are managing and leveraging information. Data-driven marketing continues to be the theme, and the customer's expectations are evolving, so what we do is changing as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of change in the air, and I think we were speaking about this earlier, and I'm just like, this kind of reminds me of almost like 15 years ago when we had a big evolution in the ad tech space as well at that point, and I think a new type of evolution is coming. So we talk a lot about the power of data in marketing, and we talk about trends there, but how are you seeing them influence media, like the data in marketing and everything? How are you seeing that now?
Like you said, data is such critical part. It's like the fuel that drives marketing and advertising forward. And I'm going to break it down because these trends are literally across the board. So when you think about how we capture information, right, whether from an advertising perspective, there's a lot of like tags and pixels firing, and that's driving what's happening, not happening. That's changing in a big way, right? So along with that, when you look at the trends on storage, now that the cookies are going away, there's a lot more focus on CDP, first-party data. How do you really manage them and use them? But on the other end, there's lots of data privacy regulations. So they are coming up, so that's changing in a big way. Data-driven marketing, programmatic marketing, where you're spending your dollar, how you're spending your dollar, and are you reaching that right customer who has very little attention span? That is advancing in a big way, right? And the same is applying on the measurement side. You want to spend your money where you get the best conversion. So I kind of see it across the board. The words I would use is cookie deprecation, Gen AI, more A/B testing, content marketing. There's a lot of these things are continuously shifting and disrupting this ecosystem.
And with this disruption, it creates a change in, I would say, process and execution and everything. And then we start talking about like AI and automation and the rise there and how that's going to impact. How is AI and automation in a way influencing also marketing strategies and how you're thinking about the future as it comes to that, and what kind of improvements and efficiencies are you seeing, if you've seen them?
Yeah. So, and I'll speak specifically from financial services perspective. AI and machine learning have been with us for a long time. We've been using it almost for a decade, if not more, because all our predictive targeting, propensity-based models have evolved as the technology and ability to gather data has evolved, right? Where I'm seeing a trend, like a big shift of transformation coming, is with Gen AI. All these large language models and ability to really leverage a big amount of data that it was unusable till you cleaned it up, right, is now usable. And it's shifting us in two ways. So when I think about financial services, number one is content, right? That's the first place where we can test some of these things. And content is creating content or making sure approved content is available for delivery is the longest pole in the tent. So imagine that automation where weeks worth of work can happen in a few hours.
Yep.
It's a massive game changer. It's not just the technology part of it, it's also the roles.
Yep.
And how we approached it and what we approved is changing. Now, I'll add to it, and I'm saying it on behalf of financial services, but I think it applies across industry, is in previously with AI models, you worried about the data that was getting input. You
Yep.
know, that's what you were controlling and cleaning. Now you have to worry about the data that is coming out on the other end as well.
Yep.
Because of Gen AI. So you gotta think about your framework, your controls, you know, how you would use the intelligence, but also have the human factor involved so that it doesn't go in the directions that you don't wanna see it.
And I'm glad you brought that up, right? Because there's technology pieces around these trends in data and AI and automation that help, but then there's a people factor to it, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you can't just expect a tool to do all the work. So how are you seeing, in a way, like how your teams are evolving with these trends? And are these trends causing that evolution, or is you growing your team causing you to create these trends? You know?
It's a really good question, and I think it's both ways.
Yeah.
You know, ultimately, whatever we do is because the consumer is directing us in that direction. Because if the consumers are expecting and data and technology is evolving, you gotta adapt. So I wanna say that as a consumer, we are trying to see the best come out of it, but then as a MarTech and AdTech partner for my marketing organization, it's not just about growth, the value also comes from operational efficiency, so we have to change and adopt. And it's not just about platforms, it's really change management.
Yes.
Because there's a new way of doing things and we need to learn how to adopt it.
And, you know, as you see these changes happen and you're, implementing it itself, do they happen overnight, or is it taking some time? And I ask this because, I've seen many brands, and rarely do things happen overnight. So I wanted your perspective from a brand side to kind of also.
Yeah, not overnight. That's a short answer, right? Change is hard and change is constant. Yes. And it's kind of interesting thing about us as humans, we like the inertia, we become like, creatures of our own habit.
Yep.
And if you imagine what goes into taking a product and marketing, there's lots of functions and people and organization and personalities involved.
Yes.
So when you have to change it all, it's a sea of change and it does take time.
It does indeed. And with these changes, people and technology, we know the marketing LUMAscape, and specifically the marketing technology LUMAscape has just blown up. I think 15 years ago, there were maybe a couple of hundred vendors at most that included your biddable systems, your DMPs, and all that stuff. Now there's over 8,000 of them.
11,000 now.
11,000, okay.
Yeah.
So with this comes cost.
Yeah.
And historically, a lot of brands have optimized to working media, saying, I want more to go to my media, less to go to everything else, which includes people, includes technology costs. How are you seeing that shift, towards working, non-working piece? And, where is that importance going? Like, how are you kind of balancing that?
Yeah, so a great question, by the way. Yes, I mean, spend in media is pretty large compared to people and technology. I've been in the AdTech, MarTech space for like 15 years now, and I want to say in the last few years, there's absolutely a deeper recognition on you can't be a marketer if you don't really have an investment into data and technology to take you forward. Otherwise, you're out of business.
Yes.
So data-driven marketing, programmatic marketing, they are absolutely top of the mind. On the other end, there is a bigger recognition that there's a lot of wasted spend in this space. And if we don't really care for these automations and technologies and clarity, we will be continuing to waste that money.
Yep.
So how do you use your measurement? How do you understand which channel is working? How do you evolve yourself? Is leading to more recognition and more ability to spend into these platforms. However, I still want to say I have to create business cases. I have to make sure that there's an understanding of I'm chasing a problem and not a technology.
Yep, yep. And then the other thing, I think you said it well, is because you're investing in some non-working aspect of your media dollars and your marketing dollars, you're able to remove that wasted spend, which ends up turning into working media. I'd love to do one day a case study kind of seeing like, here is the initial non-working, but here's the net change in working because you're able to kind of address whether it's the fraud or the brand safety concerns or just buying in a bad way or rationalizing certain areas. But that's interesting. So as we think of it, right, like, and that's going to change in the future. I think next year is going to be a big change around that wasted spend. To kind of get to an area where, what do you see as like the breakthrough or the game changers that are going to happen over the next like 12 to 36 months? That you're excited about in the media and marketing space?
So fundamentally, data is important, right? Mm-hmm. Which is what's going to drive a lot of these things. How we consume data, how we measure data, how some of these platforms can really like show us where the wastage is, right?
Yep.
Through automation, et cetera. But when I think about what will be a game changer, I think the answer, and we all are talking about it, I think the answer is Gen AI. Yeah. It's going to enable some of these things that we were not able to do before possible.
Yeah.
And that disruption, we're seeing just like a tip of it, and it feels like this is a disruptive, transformative technology that is out here, not just from a media perspective, overall marketing perspective, but customer experience perspective that will rewrite how we go about it.
Yeah, and I think Gen AI will definitely have a huge impact in terms of efficiency and effectiveness in the marketing space. But until you get there, I think that the big piece is having access to data is one thing, mm-hmm. having data that's usable is another. And so cleaning up that data's messy data in, garbage out.
Absolutely. It's a fundamental age-old problem we are still trying to solve. Yeah. We've gotten better at it, but absolutely.
And there will be. To kind of wrap it up, any advice for the MarTech leaders, marketing leaders that you can give in terms of everything that you've gone through, and as you kind of address some of these emerging trends and try to be part of that trend and that change, any kind of
one thing that comes to my mind, and it has been a consistent theme, is data. Yeah. It is the fuel. A lot of times when these investments are being made, they are more in the technology, mm-hmm. right? Like I'll use Gen AI or LLM models. Yeah, they are great, but they are powered by good data. If we don't control our data, mm-hmm. clean up our foundations, spend that hard time creating taxonomies and standards, understanding how we are putting controls in place, recognizing what the customer is telling us and how we are addressing and honoring it, none of these technologies will work. So yep. If there's one advice I would give is spend time, get your data in order. If that is in order, then your technology will work better, it'll lead to better strategies, and it'll be a game changer for your organization.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I do believe that. Well, thank you for the time. I think there's a lot of change brewing, and definitely excited about the next year in question. I think this year was a lot of new kind of download of new Gen AI pieces, automation pieces, and I still believe that next year is the utility year of kind of putting them in action.
I agree with you. Thanks, Ravi, for having me. Really appreciate it.
Of course.